Okay, hi everyone. I just saw that Mike uh, had a stream short while ago at his channel where he um, comments about the article that I um, published on my Facebook page and which I did send through email to him and to a few other um, from the community on YouTube. So let me check what he has to say about it and give him my comments on it.
Oh no, boys and girls. I'm gonna wing it this morning. Got a few things going on, like learning how to shut my phone off. Unmuting my mic. Is my mic? No, I'm fine. Damn. So, let's see. There is this this rift in the Christian community that keeps going on. And I'm telling you, in the last 2 weeks, they have given us more sound bites than we're going to need for the next 10 years to kind of show how Christianity isn't the happiest little handful of people you've ever run into. It's pretty incredible. I was talking to a really good friend of mine this morning. His name is Gary, and he is a believer, and he believes in something that he doesn't specify all that much, and he's not a church-going person, but he has a strong connection to faith. And we were talking a little bit about that, and we were the thing we came up with is that strong connection to faith runs through. It's a theme that runs through all religions and a lot of atheists, like myself. This strong connection to spirituality. And it runs through all humans, in fact. And if you get tied up in the beliefs, you are going to end up fighting over those beliefs. But if you get tied up in the actual feeling, the actual connection, or as my friend Gary calls it, a personal connection to God, if you get tied up in that instead, and just don't name it or don't fight over what it's named or what you think it is, you will find that you will get along with every other human on this fucking planet. But if you want to go down and you want to start specifying what caused this and what, this and that, and you want to fight it out about that, you'll get down to the point where you have 20 Christians on Praise That I Am's channel, excuse me, led by Smokey, going after one script, one little verse after another, fighting it out as to what this means and what that means, and exegesis. Let's exegete this and let's exegete that, and you're going to end up with the kind of shitstorm that they have encountered. And it's kind of interesting. But again, our focus here is pushing back on the 6,000-year-old pseudoscience bullshit that denies the very essence of biology, which is evolution. And
well, you can take all the efforts as well, Mike, and they will deny evolution as well. And I think we have never taken a deeper look together into what actually defines organismal form and complexity. But I've shown you already my investigation in regards of it, and I think it is very well substantiated that the gene-centric view is flawed. This is also acknowledged by biologists in the field, which recognize today that there are many more epigenetic mechanisms involved in organismal form building. And the claim that random mutations and natural selection explains the feat of organismal complexity, that's just bunk. That's just bunk, and there are many science papers which confirm that. So I'm open to have a closer look one time about this issue. I've never had a public debate in regards to evolution with anyone, and I'm looking forward to it and expose what I believe to a broader public.
Denies naturalism, which is the very essence of all of the science that's saving your fucking kids' lives right now.
Nonsense. That's nonsense, Mike. That's nonsense. Science is not about materialism. Materialism is philosophical. It's a framework that believes that the material world is all there is. But if you ask people in the field, they will say that evolutionary biology has not contributed whatsoever in regards of advance of medicine and investigating drugs that can save lives. So hey, don't talk bullshit.
That's saving mom and dad and working for all of us to give us this amazing technology. That is what you are attacking, and
No, don't erect the straw man, Mike. Absolutely not true. Absolutely not true.
you think you're going along with it, but as I can show you here on my screen, I think anyway you read a little. So Demeter spent a lot of time. Good morning, Lori. Good morning, Athena. Good morning, Scott. Demeter spent like 5 hours this week going over with Otangelo in detail the answer to the question that creationists ask us: how did this happen? How did that happen? That sort of thing. And the first
That's not what just we ask, Mike. That's what science asks. That is very basic. That's science. That's not what you can just attribute to us.
frustrating thing is, I don't think I'm looking at Otangelo, a still shot of Otangelo right now. And I love you, man. I like you, Otangelo, but everything falls right off your head. You had one singular purpose, and I hope you don't mind me sharing just excerpts from your email to all of us this morning. You sent it out to a pretty broad.
Yes, I've put it also on Facebook. The more people that read my stuff, the better I think it is, because then what I believe comes out to the public, and I stay very strongly to whatever I claim and to whatever I say, and it's based on years of research, so I know what I'm talking about, Mike.
Spectrum, and that's kind of what I've got on the screen. I just clipped it. It's nothing personal. So after he, the question was, how did all this begin? How did this information thing start? How does information complexify, basically? How does putting energy into a system create complexity and create information and make that information more and more complicated? And Demeter spent so much time explaining real, actual mechanisms using real, actual empirical evidence. And
Mike, what he demonstrated is that he has empirical evidence that a polymer can join to an RNA, and that supposedly is a proto-ribosome, or the initial step of an evolutionary trajectory to get to translation and to the whole complex of the ribosome with all the other molecules which were interacting together to have that done.
And chemistry to explain this to you. And then in the middle of all that, when we're talking, what you're talking about happened about 4 billion years ago. That's what you asked him about. That's what he was talking about. How this thing begins, how it develops.
Well, first of all, I wanted to understand what his proposal is, and he took a very long, several hours to explain this to me, to who was assisting, and that was my first aim, to understand what actually his proposal is. So,
and you popped over and I asked him about the transition and evolution of his peptide hypothesis with proto-translation to a fully developed translation in modern cells. You took the goalpost, you ran 4 billion years ahead, right?
I asked a very relevant question, Mike, because that is what we have to explain. And actually, explaining just translation is a minute part of explaining how a self-replicating cell emerges. And that is what we have to explain. That is what you, as a proponent of materialism, and all the abiogenesis community has to explain. How life came to be by natural means. If you propose that it was natural, that's that is the burden of proof that you guys have.
And you don't even know you're doing that because you don't even believe that you think the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Mike, I think if it is 4 billion years old or if it's 6,000 years old is entirely irrelevant in the quest of how cells became what they are. It could have happened 4 billion years ago or 6,000 years ago or whatever. That's not the entire point of the whole discussion that we had with Dimitar. What we are trying to elucidate is the molecular mechanisms that lead to self-replicating free living cells. That's the question. When it happened, that's an irrelevant question at that point.
So you've got that stuck in your head, but you're not talking to somebody who fucking believes that. And when you ask them to explain what their hypothesis is and their worldview, you're going to have to listen to them in terms of their hypothesis. And
that's precisely what I did during our conversations. And I think Dimitar had quite a lot of time to do it, and I left him talk just to understand what he was actually proposing.
Their worldview and how old that fucking world is. You can't just I love the word fuck, by the way. Anyway, sorry guys. But you can't just ignore their answer and turn their 4 billion years into 6,000 years and suddenly think, how did this pop up? Somebody asked me in chat the other day, the question is not how long it took, Michael. Time is not an explanation. It's not an explanation. I just wanted to know his narrative and explanation, how it happened by natural means. That's all. Ridiculous question. Moss to man. Okay, that's what they came up with. Fish to fisherman. Bacteria to biologist. Fuck you guys. None of that shit happened, and stop with the straw man bullshit questions, But anyway, I digress. The first thing I remember, okay, I'm reading what Angela. The first thing I remember that Dimitar replied was, that's not a problem. And then he started his explanation. And I was thinking to myself, what the heck? That's not a problem? What is he talking about? That's a huge problem. You fucking right it is. It's a 4 billion year long story. It took 4 billion years for it to happen. It's probably going to take...
No, Mike. It didn't take 4 million years.
I mean, if you explained every little step of it, it would probably...
The narrative is that life started about 3.5 or 4 billion years ago. And that from there, evolution kickstarted and diversified life. So there was supposedly a window of 200 to 500 million years.
We take about 40 billion years to explain every step of it. Because you guys want to know every goddamn single detail, right?
No. I explained that. It's not about explaining every detail, but it's about giving even a conceptual narrative which is sound, which makes sense, which we can follow, which is plausible. And you guys don't even know where to start. I mean, the RNA first or the metabolism first hypothesis is there for decades, and they don't know which one is the right model. And we know that both are required. Metabolism and RNA and information are both required. And the emergence of energy is also required. That's why I say the cell is irreducibly complex and had to start all at once, fully formed, self-replicating. These stories that proto-cells started small and simple and so forth, that's just bollocks. That's just nonsense.
I mean, if you want to know the answer to your questions, you're going to have to listen to some overall philosophy about how information forms, how heat in a system actually creates information. And we have many examples in physics and chemistry and certainly in biology. I mean,
No, we don't have any example whatsoever besides intelligence able to create complex instructional information which is equivalent to a blueprint made to provide the exact information and instructions to make machines at factories. Only minds are known to be capable to produce that kind of information, Mike.
That's what we're trying to explain to you.
Yes, and that's what I also, and we are also trying to explain to you, Mike. There is no example how mindless matter can produce information. Give me an example. Give me an example, an empirical example where you can demonstrate that natural means creates information, prescriptive information. Show it to me. Go ahead. And if you can, then you have a prize of $10 million, which you can pick up at the Royal Society in London.
You're not going to get a detailed explanation at the same time that you're getting the macro explanation. And if you want a detailed explanation, we're going to have to pick a point on that 4.2 billion year timeline and start explaining it.
I just want an explanation, a plausible explanation, Mike, and not just fantasy made up stories and assertions which you cannot back up, and you can't back it up, and nobody can. There is no alternative to intelligence producing information. Complex instructional information.
But you can't keep running around with the goalposts like this, Odedla.
I'm not running around with goalposts. I mean, Dimitar started with his peptide hypothesis, which supposedly would be the first proto translation mechanism. But of course, I want to know how he goes on from there. How does he arrive to a fully functional ribosome with all the parts? I mean, this is a relevant question. And if he has no explanation in regards of that question, then what has he?
And then you say the ribosome is one of the most complex macromolecule complexes known. So what?
Yeah, so what? That's a huge problem. The more complex that the thing is, the more explanation you have to do to explain how that thing came to be and how it emerged. And on top of that, how it emerged prebiotically without evolution.
It's not what the fuck we're talking about. Well, it is what we're talking about. But we're talking about this after a whole lot of other things have happened. To explain its origin, it is, in my understanding, a huge problem. Yeah, a long description. Recently, John Maddox beta boy, wolf, whatever the fuck he is, drew my attention to a recent science paper, nervous-like circuits in the ribosome come to light. I wrote an article based on that paper. Well, it's a review paper. And it is, let me see, I'm not sure where it came up. Pop it up here? I'm not going to pop it up. It is from 2019. So it is by Timset and Daniken. And it's a review paper about neural circuits and the idea of using some ideas from circuitry in understanding protein interactions, enzymatic systems. One of them is the ribosome. Let's see. So I wrote an article based on that paper. Now I looked at the article and I saw some comments in there, and you highlight your comments in blue, and we can probably share that. It's on your blog, and I've linked it in my description. And all you do is say, "Oh my God, it's so complex. Oh my God, how could it be? How could it happen?" You want the story about how it happened. How did all this come to be? It's my opinion. This an all or nothing business. This is an all or nothing business. No, it ain't. Fucking ain't. A stepwise gradual evolutionary emergence is not feasible. You just declare that.
No, I just don't declare it. You've cut out why I think it is so. Maybe you show it, and then you will understand why I come to that conclusion, Mike.
Now, what I noticed about you, and I'm pretty sure that, I will challenge fucking John Maddox, Beta Wolf, come over to my site and we'll go over this paper and we'll see how much of it you really read and how much you really understand. You don't really give a shit other than the little highlights that you can quote back. So, hey, Nestle and Top Dog, hello. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I don't think they get a kick. They have no idea what they're doing. They actually think this way. They're not scientists. They're not doing science. They know nothing about science. They don't care to learn about science. The only thing they care is to read enough of the paper to get to the point where Otangelo got here. How did all this come to be? It is my opinion.
And what do you have? That's all what we have. We have just opinions, nothing else. What we can use is abductive reasoning to the best explanation. And look, you highlight what this guy wrote. Why do creationists, intelligent designers, and flat earthers? So this is just an insult, Mike, because you cannot throw us all together into the same bucket. There is no comparison. So, hey, leave out these kind of comments. They are just under the belt, and you know it. You know it.
That it's too complex to have happened in stepwise manner. And that's the only way materialists can explain origin. Well, we could get to that a little bit. Yes, I am incredulous toward that hypothesis, and I think I am justified to be so. No, you aren't.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am, Mike. And the evidence demonstrates it.
You're reading your Bible again.
No, I'm not reading the Bible. I am reading science papers, Mike. I've cited that paper which John Maddox mentioned, nervous-like circuits in the ribosome. From there, I infer my conclusions. I don't need the Bible to infer intelligent design as the best explanation. I use science. I use peer-reviewed science papers.
Read your fucking Bible. Not gonna be. It's not gonna turn out well. It's just over and over again, and we are frustrated. And I think Demeter is frustrated with having spent 5 hours, and then having had these questions pop up in the later part of the discussion that indicates that no one was listening to him.
That's not true, Mike. I actually started making my questions once I heard his proposal.
And we had this guy, SFB Mod, that popped over, and I'm trying to get in touch with him. And he sounds like a Maddox 2.0. Pretty intelligent, reasonable guy with a lot of information. But when I listened carefully to what he was talking about, it all starts to fall apart. And I challenge that man to come over and have a conversation with us.
Well, Mike.
So SFB.
Well, Mike, first of all, you say all falls apart, but what do you have? You have nothing. You have just claimed, oh, science is working on it, and science will find out, and it will be a materialistic explanation. That's a materialism of the gap. That's all that you have. So what kind of authority do you have, actually? You have nothing.
The Mod, if you could get in touch with me through Otangelo, that would be good. Solo hangout. Now, I'm going to open it up here in a minute, okay? That's like, and I just have a few things to, let's see, patch up here. I think I want to go over and, okay, so I want to try to find this damn tab. First of all, I think if I just relax and live with a little bit of dead airspace, this shit might turn out better. But stop that screen. Oh my God, who the fuck is that? Oh God, I hate seeing myself on cam. I am so old, man. I'm 25,452 days old today. It's my birthday. My 20.
Oh, cool. Congratulations. Mine was the 30th of August.
25,452nd birthday. For all you guys who got confused by that, it's my birthday every day. My real birthday is January 7th, where I will be turning 70.
Okay.
If I survive this fucking pandemic. Share screen. We will try and get Tandlo's blog up here. Oh my God, are you kidding me? This could be a translation through ribosomes, amazing nanomachines. What just fucking happened? What's happening? I never know what's happening. StreamYard blows. Okay. So anyway, let's see. So I think basically, correct me if I'm wrong with Angelo, but you just copied his paper. In the past few decades, studies on translation have converged toward the ribosome nanomachine model. And then they go on to explain neural circuits. And what my icon for this morning show is a picture from this paper. But then you have your comments in green. I'm sorry, I thought it was blue. In order to monitor the system, the ribosome must have previous knowledge. And your comments are all of the same ilk, right? I mean, do you understand that diagram? Do you understand what the hell's going on here? I don't think you care. I think all you care about is that otherwise, the right tRNA selection would not be established and the entire system would break down. Well, that's exactly what Demeter was trying to explain to you. And it's not working. Okay, so this is not working. Something is not working in our communication. I'm sorry, it's not happening. I don't know. We can stop that for a minute, but let me see if I can actually paste a.
It's interesting, Mike, that you just cut out the relevant part where I explain the problem with Demeter's hypothesis. And the problem is, Mike, that there are actually two big problems here. First of all, tRNAs, they require a very complex biosynthesis pathway to be synthesized. And that whole pathway and all the molecules and proteins and cofactors and assembly factors and chaperones which are required to make tRNAs, and in special the ribosome, they would have no use and no function by themselves. They have only function in the making of a higher order structure, of a higher order molecule, which in case is the ribosome and tRNA. But the ribosome by itself, without the other molecules and players in the orchestration of translation, has no function. The ribosome only can function if you have the genetic code, if you have the messenger RNA, if you have the tRNAs, if you have the amino acid tRNA synthetases. You need all these molecules to work together. And if one of those is missing, you have no job, you have no translation. That's why I say that the system has to be irreducible. It is irreducibly complex, and all the proteins and enzymes that manufacture a tRNA, for example, okay, they make a tRNA, so what? If you have just a tRNA alone, it has no function. And I think that this is not difficult to understand. So why did you not understand it, and why has Demeter not understood it? I mean, I put a big question mark, and exactly the same question that you ask me, I'm asking to you guys. What do you guys not understand about my explanation, which seems to me very logical, plausible, and rational?
The link this morning. It wouldn't let me paste the link last night on my own fucking channel. So can you post the link? Athena, the link is posted in my description. He sees that there, yeah. Ooh, how nifty, which means it's designed, because that's how logic works, right? Okay, I'm trying. Oh my God, it let me post. It let me post today. Pretty cool. I'm happy. So let me see, application window. Come on, you can do this. I'm putting fucking links to the papers in his description. What are you falling down? Did you?
I mean, far be it from me to give up on people, but sometimes it feels like talking to them, it's not going to go anywhere. Yeah. You may get lucky, and one of them will be like, "Oh, I see. Yeah, you explained it well."
Going anywhere.
Watch it.
I don't know what David is doing over there with.
Lately, who will have changing the number because they don't know. No,
Right,
you
and-
get this new evidence.
And so Demeter was, over here explaining, just he was trying to explain to him how information, develops from very, very simple peptides.
That's not what we explained, Mike. He didn't explain to me how information increases. He tried to explain. Actually, he just described his peptide RNA hypothesis as a supposed proto-translation mechanism that had nothing to do, in my understanding, with increase or generating information.
And nucleic acids and how the system happens and how it complexifies. We get the whole story along here. And fucking Otangelo asked him a question about over here, And it's like, okay.
No. I asked him just to give an explanation of the transition from his peptide hypothesis, a trajectory to get to the complexity of the ribosome translation. And of course, he started then right away saying, "Oh, that's not the problem," and that's a huge problem. I mean, hey, if any one of you guys doesn't know how complex the ribosome is, then hey, go back to school at the first degree of biology class. I don't think I am talking about something that you don't know, guys. That's obvious. What I am asking and what I am saying is very clear, obvious, and anyone knows how complex the ribosome and translation is. And it's a pertinent question. If he wants to make a case for his hypothesis, he has to have answers. And if he has just answers for the emergence of a very, very simple early stage and nothing else, and there is a big blank in the middle, then he has no hypothesis and no explanation at all.
Goalposts. Fucking leave the goalposts.
Who explains to him?
Demeter in Otangelo's channel, which I've linked in the description. The video has the God talk. Okay.
Demeter bounces the explanation of. I see in the description. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Demeter has 2 papers. Well, he has 3 now. He hasn't shown us the third one yet, and he has a very detailed hypothesis about how you start out with very, very simple systems like this. And they slowly feed back on themselves, and they're selected by.
What cracks me up as well, Mike, is that you actually take whatever Demeter says as granted. You are not skeptical at all in regards of any materialistic hypothesis. You just swallow it if it is the holy truth. But whatever comes from our camp, you deny it, you say it's bollocks, it's nonsense, it isn't compelling, it isn't worth to consider it, and all your objections. But whatever a materialist, anyone that has a PhD in front of his name says, you just grant it that it must be the truth. So is this not a double standard? And you guys talk all the time about selection, and that's nonsense. There was no selection. There were eventually reactions, depending, as Demeter said, on different temperatures. You have a different reaction of chemistry, but this is not a selection. This isn't selection. This is just chemistry and reactions. And these reactions, they are random. They are not organized. They are not anything that would lead to a complexification of towards a specific outcome.
Darwinian selection, right? So old Darwin stops here and keeps selecting, and it becomes more and more complicated. And that's how you get from there to there. I mean, but you got to listen to you got to understand the explanation at the very low level.
Yeah.
Because they're like what Otangelo says here is, in my opinion, it's an all or nothing business. No, it isn't. It's co-evolution.
Yeah, it is. What are you talking about? Co-evolution. There was no co-evolution. Why would two different molecules complexify independently to then at the end of the trajectory begin to interact in a meaningful manner? That is the same as to say that you make a factory to make a piston, you make a factory to make a cylinder, and both factories, they have no clue about the outcome of the other factory, of the size of the cylinder and whatever. And then miraculously, somehow, the piston will fit precisely into the cylinder with all the sizes fitting and working together. Hey, this is pseudoscientific nonsense. Do you not get that?
Evolution. So it was a co-evolution, and that's the important.
That's an important aspect of like how the creationist mindset works. Like if you answer 99 out of 100 questions and say, oh, I don't know the last one, they will dismiss every answer that you have given to all the other 99 questions.
Yeah.
Say,
Hi, John.
Hey, Otangelo, how are you doing?
You're fine, and you?
Well, getting some entertainment from this stupidity.
Wow. Wow.
I really find it so fascinating how, number one, apparently, I am a serious trigger factor for speed of pudding. It's like every time I flip over to one of your reports on his Weather Channel, or I occasionally will be like, I wonder what idiocy has been coming out of this guy's mouth.
John,
I turn on one of his videos and it's John Maddox. It's like almost guaranteed my name is going to come out of something I've done to piss him off. It's so funny.
John, let me just establish something. Can you call him Mike? I prefer that we call people, at least at my channel, with their real names. I think we should try to create breaches and not ridicule the opposite side. And when we call them names like Pudding or so or whatever, it's not productive. And you saw what happened with Smokey and his breakdown yesterday and the email he sent and so forth. And I think that, I mean, their hypotheses, they can be whatever they are, but when we address and expose their proposals, which make no sense, then we are doing our job. And that's what we try to do.
Okay, well, I'm not going to go into the Smokey thing. I think he got tossed under the bus. But okay. So, SOS.
Tony is in the backstage. Do you want me to let him in, or do you just want to talk?
All right, Tony. Is there Anthony?
Yes.
Oh yeah, of course you can come in.
Okay. Hi,
So,
Tony.
Tony, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, go on, please, John.
Anyway, I mean, it's just, to be honest, where I was going with all this, I really don't know at what point we need to just stop giving Mike the time of day.
Agreed.
I mean, it's getting to the point of just utter denial of any rationality. You can hear it in his voice, the anger, the desperation, I'm an old man. You know, it's like he's in the validation stage of life. And therefore, if he concedes anything, then he has invalidated what he spent the majority of his life believing. And he is an angry soul. And that's all it is. And all the everything he references, for example, like the nervous circuits in the ribosome, the paper that he was referencing a few minutes ago, he never actually references the importance and the significance of those kinds of discoveries. It's always Maddox or Otangelo or whoever mentioned this. They don't know a damn thing about it.
Exactly. And Otangelo, he's the one insulting us, asking us, we don't have PhDs.
Well,
and
I
so
am at
on.
most. Tony, I didn't read the entire chat yesterday where
Yeah,
he
it's stupid.
insulted you. But
Yeah.
my policy, it is not just for us; it is for them as well. As I said several times, I want to have a polite environment at my channel. You guys can name call as much as you want at your channels. That's not
All
my
right.
business. And I
Okay.
said that to Smokey as well. He was complaining with me yesterday that we are imposing how they should behave. No, I give my opinion, but you can behave
All right.
how you want. That's not my problem. That's between you and God. That's not my
Okay.
problem.
Now,
So at my place, at my channel, I have set the policy. I want that people are not named with nicknames, with inferiorizing names. They should be named with their real name. I call Michael Mike as he wants to. And so I ask that people that join my channel do so as well, and that there is no lowering in the chat to personal attacks. If you don't like the signs of atheists, then attack the signs. Don't attack the people.
well, Speed and his so-called expert he brought in yesterday did not address anything, number one. And then they brought forth their pre-RNA world or their RNA peptide world hypothesis, which was absolutely ridiculous. And I think anybody could point that out, me, you, Maddox. So that was my objection to what they were kind of took over your channel yesterday.
That's what we are supposed to do, Tony. If we do not agree with their science, and that's what I am doing this morning, I am reviewing what Mike had to say in regards of what I wrote, and I am addressing the points that he is making, and that is okay. That is what I think is our job. And it's not just for them, it's not just for the interlocutor, it's in special for who is watching our channels, so these people are exposed to what the opposite side has to offer, and then they can make up their minds. And when they bring up what they believe, they expose themselves and they demonstrate that what they believe is just not supported by the evidence.
Okay, that's fair enough. Let's ask. Okay, so the chemistry, the starting materials, what exactly were they for the RNA world hypothesis that they were proposing? If we could get back to the chemistry exactly.
Well, in that specific case, what I understood is that Dimitar proposes a proto-translation system which started very simple by a joint of a peptide together with an RNA, which he claimed that it had been empirically demonstrated that these structures somehow they have some chemical bonds or so, or attraction, and they form that kind of structures. So I made a very relevant question. I asked him, Dimitar, how do you explain the trajectory for your proposed peptide hypothesis to the fully fledged and fully evolved or emerged ribosome with all the parts? And then he said, oh, that's easy to explain. Hey, that's not easy to explain. And I pointed it out this morning in the email that I sent to everyone. That is a ridiculous claim. Openly said, that's just a ridiculous claim. We know that the ribosome is one of the most complex macromolecular machines that we know of. And the more that we investigate, the more we are flabbergasted by its complexity. And the paper that John brought to my attention, it goes even deeper and shows there is actually signaling, long-distance signaling going on inside the ribosome, and it makes error check and repairs and adjustments and direct movements. That is a factory inside the cell factory. That's amazing. So how do you explain it? And Mike comes, oh, you just say because it's complex, it must be designed. Yes, that's what we say. The more complex it is, the more it is a hallmark and evidence of design.
Well, and another component of that too, that in line with everything you just said there, Tangelo, is they have to account for this per their own timeline. They have to account for as pretty darn close to the current form of the ribosome existing from very, 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 very early of their own evolutionary timeline. Not a partially constructed one, but a fully functional ribosome coming into existence.
John, excuse me. Let me just interrupt you quickly. I have to leave, but I will remain the stream open, and you guys can continue the chat. Is that okay?
Yeah. Are you going to be coming back?
I don't know. I'll have to leave. I have some things to do,
Okay.
but probably not very soon. So I'll just leave the stream open, and you can continue having your talk. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, guys, and see you later. Bye-bye.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was I saying? And then Amita.
Smokey, do you want to come in? Smokey is here in the chat. If he wants to come in, I'll let him in. Otherwise,
I can't be in your chat anymore, Tangela. I don't know if you unblocked me or what.
I don't even know how to unblock someone. How does that work? Let me check here. Just a moment. I don't know how to unblock you on the chat, Tony.
Yeah.
I'll
All
have to leave that for later. I have to check how to do it, and then I'll unblock you again. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
But-
Smokey hasn't shown up. I gave the link, and I have to go now, so I have no time to wait him to come in. So
All
sorry
right.
for that, Smokey. Okay, see you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Guess it's our stream now. Can't let anybody in either.
Well, here's the thing with and what's his face, Immutable Destiny. In the stream yesterday, I tried to make this whole argument about like, oh, we only need the core ribozyme portion of the RNA that makes up the part of the ribosome, and it's like, yeah, man, that is not exactly. We're not talking about like 2 nucleotides here, bro. We're talking about hundreds. So, all we need is this one part. What? Yeah, dude, this one part is big. It's a major piece, and its formation is specific, and its structure is specific, and its length is significant. And I'm sorry, bro. If you can't even get close to having enough nucleotides bond to even be self-catalytic, and even if you get to self-catalysis, you're still literally hundreds of nucleotides away from getting to this point that you need. So what is your point?
Pre-RNA world. We don't need things to be that complex, Maddox. You're making it too complicated.
Yeah, but here's the thing in relation, and this is the whole God of the Gap. Oh, it's nothing but God of the Gaps arguments we hear ad nauseum from the SOSs of the world. Is like, I don't know at what point something becomes like, I'm not claiming this is impossible, because clearly it exists. The only argument I'm making is the only way you'd be able to pull this off is with a intelligent agent.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
and it's like, if intelligent agents on purpose in a lab can't replicate something, on purpose they can't replicate it.
Right.
Why is it reasonable to conclude that it would happen without somebody trying to do it on purpose? If the guy on purpose can't do it, why would it happen by accident? How is that more plausible? I do not understand how that is the rational conclusion.
What would be your objection to a protein only being the target molecules would only need to be two left-handed amino acids? I actually heard this yesterday. So two left-handed amino acids would make a primitive protein.
2?
Yeah. That's all you need.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't think there's too many. I mean, was that just a rando, or
That was off of I think his name was Dimitri or Immutable.
No,
Both of them
they were claiming that 2 amino acids equals a protein?
could equal a primitive protein. Lucas said something similar to that too.
Does it? No.
Okay.
Nobody actually believes that.
Well,
I mean,
this
these
is
guys do,
hypotheticals.
obviously, but I mean, okay, cool.
Right.
So you have 2 amino acids. What is that? What is your point?
I don't know, man.
Like, if you don't, I mean,
This is they're trying to come up with simpler biochemical systems that are precursors. So what we're talking about is modern cells, modern proteins, RNA as we see it now.
I mean, at the end of the day, RNA is RNA. Like, nucleotides that make up RNA are freaking nucleotides. Like, it's a molecule, bro.
Right.
Like, there's not really much you can reduce it to because it's already reduced down to atoms.
Right.
I mean, what further level are you going here? I mean, it's
I don't know. It's like you strip all the parts off a bicycle and then you want to say it's still somehow a bicycle.
I mean, there's always well, I think this goes back to the whole the position they love to go to, which is nothing is irreducibly complex. And in my opinion, it's like, okay, when you get down to molecules, I really don't know what you're talking about in relation to it's not irreducibly complex. Like, you have to have these atoms in this arrangement to equal this molecule. There is nowhere to go. I mean, unless we're going to start arguing about like where I mean, at the end of the day, what are you talking about here? The different if electrons change, okay, fine, but there is nowhere else to go here, folks, in terms of what turns into their chemical reaction. I don't know what to tell you. And if you're going to argue that isn't the ultimate level of irreducible complexity, then I don't even understand why we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously living in such a state of ultimate fantasy and denial of the obvious conclusion. That why do we even have these conversations? Like, what's the point? Why we're wasting our time with you? You're idiots.
Yeah.
I don't know what James doesn't want us to be dropping insults. I didn't do that to anybody by name, but at this point, it's real to me. It's really starting to reach just complete lunacy, and you didn't read the paper enough. Like, well, actually, I did. Yeah. And if people, here's what I always get about the atheists. They claim that they've read the papers and that we haven't, which I think is interesting because very often they admit they didn't actually read the whole thing when you call them out on it, which I think is funny. And that this isn't just focused at SOS. It's like other folks. Oh, well, I didn't actually read all of your papers. Oh, okay. So you're claiming that I'm an ignorant idiot when you haven't even read all the stuff that I've read.
Yeah.
But I'm the ignorant idiot. Okay. I'm the God of the gaps person. But you didn't read the information.
Right.
And what gets me is like if you actually read these things, half the time the author of the paper admits that their minds are blown. In the paper.
Right.
The fact that they're stunned is mentioned over and over and over again throughout the course of a official paper on this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, just because I'm reaching a conclusion that they might not be reaching doesn't mean that the stunning complexity, the interdependent components, and the fact that it's blowing people's minds is not reality. And if your counterpoint to that is God of the gaps and its chemical reactions, if that's your counterpoint to the oh my goodness gracious, look at what this thing does. If that's your counter, then it's like talking to a child.
When you called out Doc Savage on that, when he was going into what he engineered, and then you're like, wait a minute, did you use pre-existing enzymes? Did you, what were the starting materials? And then he finally admitted.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Yesterday, Demeter was talking about DNA replication and such, his experience in it. It's like, okay, dude, so you're experienced. So then you know what has to be in play for DNA synthesis and the DNA synthesis machines and blocking and unblocking and all these different chemical factors you have to have in order to do this. So why are you trying to act like this is just, easy to be done? Like, I honestly wonder if sometimes the academics, because they've been doing something for so long, it's like intuitive to them, and they're just able to, make it happen, that they completely lose sight of the number of interdependent processes that have to be executed in order for their end outcome to occur. And it's like, oh, well, that's how it happens. That's no big deal. That's easy. We do that all the time. It's like,
Speed's in the chat if you want to explain to him this RNA world failure or pre-RNA world. It seems like there's a new RNA world every 10 years or so because it just keeps failing,
Yeah, well, the only reason I'm even admitting that this guy exists is out of respect for Antangelo and his request.
Yeah.
But no, I don't engage with idiots anymore.
Yeah.
There's no point.
And then he'll call us out for not having PhDs, and I don't ever remember him having any background in chemistry at all.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Incredible.
There may be a textbook on the shelf that hasn't been read, so.
All right. They'll call in their experts and never question them, but James Tour is always wrong,
Yeah, his his lecture the other day, I think that was from one of the, what I liked about that is that was, the lecture itself was from I'd heard that lecture before at one of the conferences, but I loved the way they put all the visuals together with it to like really enhance the significance of the points being made and make them more palpable. And they like the animation on the nano car.
Yeah, excellent.
Like I'd seen some of that stuff. I actually watched a little short video documentary on that 2016 nano car contest that he was part of, and like interviewed him and all the other team leads from around the world that engaged in that contest, and it was very interesting, like the different structures that they all put together with the intention of the same outcome. Like we want to have a car, right? Yeah. But the way they were shaped, the different methods they used, the different structures to produce the movement, that they were able to come up with. It's like, wow, that's pretty awesome. On the nano level, on the molecular level, these different teams were all able to create cars out of molecules that can look totally different. Right.
Can you let anyone in or no? Speed or Smokey? I guess not.
No, I don't have the I'm not the control. Yeah, that's what Antangelo was saying. Antangelo was saying when he left, like,
yeah, all right.
Anybody wants to come in, you have to come in like before you left. But where I was going with all that is like all these different things are possible, right? But I really want to know, and I want any chemist with a PhD to publicly state that one of those nanocars could form over time.
Right, naturally.
And until atheist chemists come out publicly under the supposed credibility of their PhD and argue that a photon-driven nanocar can create itself, even though it's just chemical reactions and molecules.
Right.
Until these atheist PhDs will make the public assertion under the supposed credibility of their PhD that this can occur through undirected process and natural selection, I'm done giving their arguments credit.
Right. It's a joke.
Because the nanocar that we're talking about is it's a toy compared to some of the most simplistic, fundamental, essential proteins that are required for life to exist. This is a fact. And until they are going to, I think the nanocar that they won within 2016, they since expanded them. I want to say the nanocar that they built for the 2016 competition was like 8 molecules. 8.
Wow.
And it took them, when he was like describing all the processes they had to do to like make that stuff happen. It was 8 molecules. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So that ribosome or the ribozyme, that you're supposedly arguing can just happen.
Right.
It's hundreds. So what is your point?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah. Same with the protocell experiments. It's always analogous to, oh, we had to purchase this chemical in pure form. Oh, we had to do this reaction under, controlled conditions, or else it would have gotten, totally destroyed. That's all I'm hearing. So yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. It
That's
doesn't have
incredible.
any credibility, and this also goes back to the the evolutionary biologists. It's like, okay,
Like Dave,
you
Professor Dave. They're not going to admit, their 20-year career was, a waste of time.
well, that too. But I mean, where I'm going with this is, they claim that a duplicate, gene duplication is going to somehow result in, through natural selection, is somehow going to result in a new functional protein or new functional gene sequence, which will equal a protein, functional protein. Like, okay, fine. Without CRISPR, without any other enzyme, go create a new. Even if you take a existing DNA sequence that's functional, and without CRISPR, without enzymes, without any other naturally occurring component, even if you know what the sequence you want to turn that one into, go do it.
How long did it take to produce that nanocar? That was a 5-year study.
For the initial one, yeah, I think it was something like that.
That was
And since then, they've actually managed to they've created all sorts of different variations of it. After they created the first working prototype, since then they've been able to create all sorts of new variations of it, like trucks and submarines and like all sorts of different types of it.
Yeah.
Once they figured out the appropriate structure for, like, basically once they figured out the equivalent of the turbine engine, right, on the molecular level, now they're able to like apply that logic to all sorts of different structures.
Speed, Smokey, come on in. I think you just posted the link's out there. Come on in, guys.
Welcome back, Otangelo. You did okay?
No, I have just 5 minutes. My wife is getting ready. We have to go.
Oh, you're closing it down?
To do some things. So I have 5 minutes here to add who wants to join the stream.
Well, Otangelo, Speed's in your chat talking nonsense. So, I mean, why doesn't he just come in?
Maybe because he doesn't like you, Tony.
Well, he's the one telling us that we're wrong. And John won't face him, so John's here. I mean,
yeah, there. But Otangelo, I'm gonna have to bounce here shortly if you need to shut down the stream.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
okay,
guys.
So guys, I'll be back later. I will finish the stream now, and about 4 or 5 o'clock afternoon, I'll come in again probably and start a new stream, and we can continue this. Okay.
All right. So I appreciate you as
Bye,
always.
guys. God bless.
Okay. Bye-bye.